Hey guys, welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. Tonight we will be joined again by friend of the show, Tom Ernisse of Dolphins Talk. But first, our guys over at Handsome Jack.
Broadcasting live to Bills Mafia worldwide with Greg Tompsett and Aaron Quinn.
Welcome to the NFL. Doesn't matter what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
Your number one podcast for objective Buffalo Bills coverage. No matter where you are, we got you covered.
Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, it's playoff week. We are in the wild card round. How are you doing?
Good evening. It might be not even a good enough description for how I'm feeling right now, Greg, today going into this. And I feel bad for our buddy Tom. He's sitting in the guest room here. He's sitting in the green room.
Very different days for the fans.
We've had different days, Tom and us here. First of all, before we jump into this wild card matchup and get into any of the other news of the day, I want to say, how cool is it that Damar Hamlin was released from the hospital and actually going home. I don't even have words, man. That's so crazy. It's unbelievable. I'm so happy for him and his family. We've learned so much about Damar. You know, Greg, I've been a big fan of his since day one of coming in. But all the stuff that I knew about him, I learned so much in this process about him. And all of it makes sense as to his recovery and the person he is and the type of fighter he's going to be going forward with the remainder of his recovery and stuff like that. All makes sense with all the stories that we've heard about him. So couldn't be happier for him and his family. They seem all like great people and super happy for the Bills organization. I think that was, again, you heard it in the press conferences, continued just the optimism and all the news coming out just is continued weight lifted off all these guys' shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, really incredible. And as you guys, everybody join in now, we will get into lots of the exciting news about the injury updates, some of the other pieces. We'll go through a lot of different areas there. But obviously, the first matter at hand is this matchup in the wild card round. And who better to have on than our man Tom, friend of the show, Tom Ernisse from Dolphins Talk. Tom, how we doing, sir?
Oh, I would say happy Wednesday, but it's more of a happy Wednesday for you guys on the Bills side of it. Not so much for us over in Dolphins land. It's been a struggle from a fan perspective, but we still got a game to play. We'll see how it plays out.
Well, and kind of jump right into it here because this isn't new. We were talking a little bit offline. This isn't really new to the Dolphins here this year. Like you've said, you've struggled with sort of that battle of attrition all year, but it really seems to have gotten to its worst point here when you need it the most. And we talked about it again offline a little bit, how the two teams are really heading into the postseason in very different ways. Greg had mentioned about how big the injury report was at one point for the Bills. And now you see the one for the Miami Dolphins here this weekend. How has the battle of attrition been so far to this point? And is it really at its worst right now? And what's going on with that?
It is at its worst. There's a lot of key pieces that have been missing down the stretch. The next man up mentality has gone into wait a minute, next man up part 3, next man up part 4 in multiple positions. Obviously it starts and finishes at the quarterback position. Not having Tua Tagovailoa available for this game really changes things, but it even makes it even more difficult when Teddy Bridgewater may not even play in this game. So you're down to Skylar Thompson, who finished the season with the lowest passer rating of minimum 100 attempts in the NFL at 64.6. So that's what we're dealing with. It's a lot of fun. But it's been tough. The team was able to find a way to get past the Jets due to solid kicking from Jason Sanders for really the first time all season. And the defense was phenomenal, and they have been for the last 3 weeks. It's, again, battle of attrition. What does this team have? Can they find a way to beat Buffalo? We'll see.
And there was Steve Mariucci was on on the NFL Network and was talking about that. Hey, don't get me wrong, I used it like anybody else, but next man up is coach speak. Next man up is like just a Band-Aid. And one next man up, you can. It's no big deal. You can rally around that. He said, but every next man up wasn't starting because the guy who was ahead of him was better. And that once you go through those different areas and you get into those, and I talk about it a lot, those cluster injuries, you get into like the same position where you're getting into that second, third, fourth guy, and let alone quarterback, which obviously is a clear and easy one. It really becomes beyond impactful. And before we get into some of the matchups and stuff, I want to show some of the Bills fans who are watching right now what we're talking about. And that obviously in the spots that were in the Bills, and I look back, I think it was week 9 and week 10, the Bills got into some really nasty stretches where we got to 17 players on our injury report. The Bills are in much better shape now. And the Dolphins this week have 17 players on their injury report. And it's not just 17 players. It's the fact that it's names like Tua and Mostert and Melvin Ingram and Bradley Chubb and Terran Armstead and like some of the most impactful players on the entire roster. And I obviously expect Jalen Phillips and Waddle and Wilson and those guys to play, but the fact that they're on there and having to gut through, and you're not talking about 100% Jalen Waddle, 100% Jalen Phillips, some of the most impactful guys on the roster. Now you're getting into those, cluster injuries and those compound injuries here. So help us a little bit through here on just where your real questions are on this list and which ones you expect to gut it out and play.
The real question starts right at the top. Terran Armstead, he has missed the last 3. Obviously, the compounding injuries, the toe injury he suffered in week 1, he's toughed out. The knee injury that he has been sustaining, he's been able to tough out. The problem now is the pec and the hip is really the 2 injuries that have kept him on the sideline. He was not at practice today. I believe Bradley Chubb will play. He had the same injury last week. He played the game against the Jets, so I would expect he would log a practice potentially tomorrow or Friday, if not both days. Melvin Ingram has been vet rest every single Wednesday. I expect him to go. The big question marks who may not be playing, Raheem Mostert just had surgery on his thumb. I guess it was significant enough where he had to have surgery on Monday. He was in the building to receive his Angry Runs award from your boy Kyle Brandt, but I don't believe he's going to end up suiting up. We know about Tua not getting through protocol. Brandon Shell hurt his knee and ankle last week. The ankle, I believe, is a high ankle sprain, so the chances he is also not going to play. And Kendall Lamb was hurt against the Patriots, and
we talked pre-show for any fan who's not seeing a trend here. Armstead, Lamb, Shell, Little. The Dolphins literally had their top 5 tackles not practicing or limited today. Like, it's just an unbelievable stretch of trying to figure out. I know I saw the one article I read was wondering. I know Hunt kicked out to tackle during the game, and that Little played left tackle. Is if Armstead can't go, is that the current plan? Is that it would be Little at left tackle
that
and
is
Hunt kicking out to right tackle?
Yeah, I mean, Hunt has played tackle, through his first couple
came
years.
in as a tackle, I think, in the draft.
Yeah, he did. He came in from Louisiana Tech as a tackle. They moved him to guard. He's been good as a guard. He's a steady presence at that right guard position. But you're in a pinch at this point. You got to play him at tackle, especially because there literally is nobody else that can play tackle right now, outside of signing a guy from the practice squad to be ready to go. It's terrible timing, but 'tis the life of a Dolphins fan. This is what we deal with. Backup quarterback, let alone a third stringer. Last time they were in the playoffs was 2016 with said backup quarterback Matt Moore and lost to Pittsburgh.
That's the really crazy part is going back. I'm honestly like 5-6 days, like just going into last weekend, we were having a lot of talks about like, hey, we knew which teams we were likely going to face, and we knew it was Miami, it was maybe the Chargers, it was maybe the Steelers, it was maybe the Jaguars. There was a path for a couple others, but it was pretty likely between the Steelers, the Dolphins, and the Chargers. And we were looking at that and talking that, we've seen the ceiling capabilities of this Dolphins team. We've seen what this pass rush can do when they're all together. We've seen the weapons that Waddle and Hill are. And we were talking that, like, hey, I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like, we need to be able to beat them either way. The AFC playoffs are going to be good no matter what. But, I won't be sad if we don't have to face that Dolphins, weapons group again. And now, in just a matter of days of, we were probably having the same probability as I think a fair amount of Dolphins fans had, that, hey, maybe Tua is getting ready to come back for the playoffs. And you had the, hey, maybe Armstead is just kind of holding out, waiting to come back. And now just the swing in
just to interject sort of in that, Greg, I think to prove your point further, in the back of my mind, the Dolphins played the Bills pretty well in cold weather the last time they met. Like, that was a toe-to-toe game. And so that's where my head was, to kind of just further your point as it was trending into the week.
Yeah, I mean, they controlled that final possession, but whether it was, in a different setup, maybe they would have tried to score a touchdown or something, that's still a one-score game. Like, even if they had that final possession, it was a one-score game no matter what. And they ended up ending it with a field goal as time ran out. So, yeah, I think that there wasn't a lot of excitement to play the Dolphins. And now you swing it now, and people are wondering by game time, is this going to be a 14.5, 15-point spread? It's just, I just can't remember this huge of a swing in this period of time. It's made me wonder, like, am I waiting for some other shoe to drop? Is there some crazy Skylar Thompson, miracle game coming here? So let's go down that path a little bit. And I
put that out of the universe. Get that wherever you came up with that, Greg, and stuff it back in a jar. What are you doing right now?
So
that'd be the Billsiest.
Oh yeah, that would be the Billsiest thing ever. So to you, Tom, the one thread I saw that was mildly interesting, if I was them, was, hey, do we just do the Mac Jones wind game? And can we pull off a game here where we hand the ball off every play with Wilson and hopefully Mostert, and we let Thompson throw 3 times? And is that just, hey, can we put together a Shanahan-style running game and see if that'll pull something off with some crazy defensive plays?
Yeah, I feel we will see the ground game get to work. The past few games, Patriots and the Jets game, they ran the ball successfully. And when they have stuck to the run, they have been very good at it. The problem is that they pull away from the run. They, being Mike McDaniel, has pulled away from the run too often, too early, and become too one-dimensional. He gets pass happy. He can't do that with Skylar Thompson. But the Bills, I believe, are just going to, probably just stack the box and say, you're not going to beat us on the ground. Skylar's going to have to beat us through the air. They still have Tyreek Hill. We still have Jalen Waddle. We still have very elite wide receivers. It's just a matter of, can Skylar Thompson, recognize pre-snap what's going on? Can he get the ball out of his hand? Can he make the right read, right throw, the timing, everything in this Mike McDaniel offense? And when I watched Skylar Thompson on Sunday against the Jets, there were moments where he had that Tua style, 10, 15 yard, post right in the middle of the field. The guy's wide open. He didn't pull the trigger. He had guys streaking down the sideline wide open. Didn't pull the trigger. It's like he's second guessing himself. So I think the Bills are going to really disguise some coverages, try to force him into early mistakes. But it's going to take a lot. I don't see a Skylar Thompson miracle, but I see the Dolphins really trying to establish a run with Jeff Wilson. I don't expect Mostert to play. Savon Ahmed also is going to be in the mix. They may even pull up another running back, or they may try some razzle-dazzle, some wildcat. If Cedric Wilson can play, that could add a little wrinkle to the game. Eric Zakama, who finally played in his first game last week as a rookie. They've held him out, and he's kind of an X factor too. But what kind of factor is he going to have? We don't know.
We've also sort of had this talk on Bill's Twitter today and in DMs about there's not any pressure on the Dolphins going into this game. Now, all the pressure's on the Bills, right? They're expected to roll. It's going to be a huge spread going into this. They're expected to roll right into the next round of the playoffs. And so with that lack of pressure in the building for the Dolphins, knowing that they're up against the ropes, they really can dip deep into the bag of tricks. Are you fully expecting them to go as far deep into trick plays and trying to find ways to generate guys the ball without having to push the ball downfield with the third string quarterback? Or do you think that they, to sort of Greg's point, stick to maybe more of a, hey, let's be real conservative with this and keep the ball in Josh Allen's hands and try to keep this, hey, maybe we can turn a possession and flip get an explosive play and make this thing a game. Like there's two sorts of ideas you can go with this is, hey, let's try to keep a puncher's chance in this, or let's just throw it all out on the table and just see what happens and see if we can hang in a game with a big time team.
Yeah, I think he's going to dig real deep into the bag of tricks. I think we're going to look at some potential RPO. Skyler can run. He's got an athletic quarterback. He can run with the football. So I think they just have to be smart with what they're trying to do. I don't expect to see, Jalen Waddle trying to throw a 30-yard reverse or something like that. I think really sticking to their ground game, keeping it short, keeping it easy for Skylar Thompson. And the clear thing last week was he didn't turn the ball over, which is important. Now that you're in the playoffs, you have to score touchdowns. He's only had 3 touchdown drives this season while he's quarterbacked. He had 2 against the Jets because Teddy Bridgewater was yanked after 1 play without a concussion. And then the game against the Patriots, he came in late after Bridgewater got hurt and scored a late touchdown to make it as closer than what the score really was. So they have to do enough to try to keep the game competitive offensively. And I think you're 100% right, Aaron. We're going to see a lot of things that we have not seen with the Miami Dolphins offense this year.
Yeah, I do have one final question for you here. We're going to flip over to the other side of the ball. This defense, right? If you're going to have a shot in this game, it's going to come from the defensive side of the ball. I think getting some type of turnover, creating some big sack situations, strip sack type stuff, that aggressiveness is going to pay off. I threw this to you, though, the last time. The Miami Dolphins are in a really weird situation of the type of scheme you want to play, which is aggressive, blitzing man versus having the guys to do it with the injuries that you've had. And also sort of opposing a question for you. And I heard Joe Marino of Locked On Bills talking about this a little bit this morning too. And I've had this thought about them of the last time they played the Bills, you don't really also have the guys to drop back into zone either. You've built this defense to be an aggressive attacking defense. I don't know that you also have the guys to back into zone and try to play that bend, but don't break. So you really have to lean into that aggressive nature. How worried are you facing this Bills team again, knowing that Josh has had success against the Miami sort of aggressive man defense?
Well, at any point you're facing Josh Allen, you have to be worried because he can improv really anything and throw the ball anywhere he wants, going towards the sideline, throwing a 40-yard dart down the middle of the field. I mean, the guy can do a lot. Yeah. The guy can do a lot. So the Dolphins, they live and die by the blitz. They have been a better defense when they don't blitz from EPA perspective. But Josh Boyer can't help himself. And he continues to blitz. So I expect similar game plans to what we saw in the first 2. They were aggressive against Josh. They had some success against him. They caused a couple turnovers in their last meeting against Buffalo. They had one down in Miami that was a touchdown near the goal line. So they've had success getting some of those plays. Can they do it consistently is the question. I don't know if they can. I know that their run defense is stout, and Buffalo had a hard time running the ball with their running backs, which the Dolphins have done a great job with. It's stopping the quarterback run that has been the biggest issue, and that's one of Josh Allen's biggest strengths, is if the team goes into man, the middle of the field goes wide open, he's going to run with the football. And we saw that on that game-winning possession where Josh just took over, ran the football, 3rd and short, running the football, and chewing the entire time off the clock to win the football game. So there's a lot that Josh Boyer has to figure out with how to try to slow down the Bills' offense. Stopping them, nobody really stops them. It's slowing them down, and maybe force some of those Josh Allen errors that he has had this year, particularly in the red zone. Can you force that turnover and stop a possession where the Bills look like they're going to score? They have to be aggressive, but they also have to be very smart.
Yeah. No, I think
when you look back, I mean, I know there was a lot of odd things with the time of possession and the number of plays run, but that week 3 game was actually the lowest scoring output of the Bills all season. That 19 points was the only time they've been held under 20 all season long.
Yeah. That was a very unique game to watch when the Bills had odd 90 plays and 500 plus yards of offense. It was a very unique game to watch.
Yeah, super strange. So speaking of unique games, we're hoping for another interesting one here coming up this weekend. You know the routine. You've been on this show enough times. Talk us through it. Give us how you think this game's going to go, and then give us a score prediction here.
Can you just flash a picture of Mr. T saying pain? It's not. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think that if Teddy Bridgewater can play, I think it gives Miami a smaller percentage chance of maybe keeping this thing close. Skylar Thompson on the road in a playoff game, I don't like it. I think there might be some mercy points given up by the Bills in maybe the third or fourth quarter. I think the Bills are going to win this game, hands down, not even a question. I want to try to keep the score respectable, so I'll say 31-13, Buffalo.
Yeah. I won't.
Makes
lie.
Me cry inside too, because
it's taking some of the fun
so much
out
more
of it.
if two of
this
us
whole
playing, it's a whole different conversation.
This whole wild card round, last year's playoffs were so exciting that it's going to be hard to live up to what we saw last year in all those rounds and all those games. But this year, whole wild card round feels a little bit deflating. This game's probably the most deflated of them.
Well, and I mean, last year wasn't it every single game came down to the final play or the final possession?
I think both first 2 rounds were one.
Everything was one score.
Was it all the way through? Yeah.
And I mean, there was one stretch where it was literally every game was decided on the final.
Yeah, it was like
the final
witching
play
hour
or the final position. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And now you have 3 games that are all going to probably creep into double digits.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know what the outcomes are going to be.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it can't be a final play.
Yeah. If I recall, I don't think the Bills game against the Patriots were close.
That one was not.
That one was
not. I do
actually
recall.
A perfect game. I don't know if we've ever told you about that. It was a perfect football game that was played.
Yeah, I won't lie. I did send a message like, so last year when we had a game that we lost with some weird weather stuff and then played that team for the 3rd time in the playoffs. Oh, we could try that again. Okay.
Yeah. I would love that.
So, Tom, we appreciate you very much. We do, we won't twist the screws any further. We know this is not the ending that you guys anticipated. This is not the full capability of this team. I admitted earlier that the rivalry is back. I joked that, hey, when you won 8 straight, it doesn't count as a rivalry anymore. And it is. We had 2 very close 1-score games that were both field goal game winning kind of plays. And that the talent on this Dolphins team is going to be a problem for the Bills for many years to come.
And at full strength, I didn't want any business with you guys.
I had no interest. No interest. Hill and Waddle can go away. I have no interest in seeing those dudes.
Yeah, do not trade for Justin Fields, please. Stay away from stuff like
that. I don't feel that's going to happen. I don't know what draft picks they could have to even pull something like that off, but it's gonna be another off season of questions. It's gonna be great. I just saw that. You think they pick up 2 as option? Yes.
Yeah, I agree. $22 million.
They want control. They want control of the quarterback at this point. He's shown flashes that he could be a top 10 quarterback. It's now not a question of the ability; it's the durability that is the biggest question with Tua, which is unfortunate, but that's the world we live in right now.
Yeah.
All right, man. We wish you well. We know you have some exciting things going on at home. We hope that goes as well as possible, and that everyone's happy and healthy there at home. And then we're looking forward to having you back on again when there's more exciting games going on.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. And I'll talk to you guys on social media throughout the off season. But good luck on Sunday, and we'll see how it goes.
All right, man. Appreciate
you very
it.
much, Tom. All right. Obviously, it's hard because I've joked, until the Bills have a trophy, I don't care about toughest path. I don't care about really earning it. I don't care about, don't you want to prove yourself? No, I'll play 4 straight backup quarterbacks and I'll tattoo the asterisk on my body when we have the trophy.
The asterisk is better.
Asterisk.
That actually, yeah. We should make it. It's like thick dime. That can be your new word.
Yeah.
Asterisk.
I have to practice saying that more.
Yeah.
I don't care at all. Like
no.
People can joke about, we
give me one and then fight over all the bickering.
Later on, I'm all for
break all the records,
decision making, and give me the toughest path to really prove ourselves. No. I want a trophy. I don't care. We play 4 backup quarterbacks the whole way through. I ain't gonna feel bad about nothing.
Yeah, no.
Now I will say it does take a little steam out of this game. We're now in that weird situation where it's like, well, yeah, we should
just don't screw it up.
We should win by a boatload. Like Skylar Thompson shouldn't win. I'm trying to catch myself of like guaranteeing there's no possible way. Like crazy stuff happens.
You gotta take weird things happen.
I will say, I was very pleased to see the team taking it very seriously, speaking very respectfully of the team, only talking about this game, not looking ahead, talking about how talented they are, how well coached they are. Like the team is not looking ahead on anything. Yeah. And that makes me feel a little better.
Never thought they would. I know it frustrates probably people in the media and stuff like that in terms of the answers that they get to the questions, but it is very intentional. Josh Allen's talked about it with Kyle Brandt. We've heard it on a couple different other podcasts. It's intentional, the message that they put out. They know what they're doing. This is the Bill Belichick motto of not giving anything extra. There's no need to. There's no benefit of it. So just have nothing but nice things to say. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And that is the way to approach it. And my only thing in this one is it does take a little bit of the air out. And it comes down to now it's like, okay, don't screw this up. Like, don't go barf all over yourself. And, you can say and do all the right things, but it is human nature. Like these guys are still human nature to be like, we're going to go roll these guys and have a letdown. I don't think it's going to happen in this game. I do think this team's faced too much adversity. This isn't their first trip into the playoffs. Like they understand what that is like, how abruptly the playoffs can come to an end. And this can all be packing up the locker room in a couple of days. And this is all over for you. They've put too much into it. So I don't think they're going to have the type of letdown that would lead to something like that. But it is weird that it's taken out so much because now I'm going into this weekend real stress-free of, man, this sort of Chris Kepner, our producer down here, and I were talking last Friday of that being a tune-up game against the Patriots. And gosh, man, this kind of feels like a free extra tune-up game here in the playoffs, though. That's weird. It's a weird concept.
It is. And now we're going to get into things like, getting through this game without an injury, getting through this game without showing all their cards, getting through this game just doing enough to get the win and move on. And
don't make it harder than it has to be.
Yeah. Correct. Don't give them any juice to start the game, because that's what happened in an underdog scenario. The worst thing you can do is give them false confidence, give them the idea that they can hang, and all of a sudden now they get rolling with, they are a good running team. They have talented, fast running backs. They have the capability. I'm not sure with this offensive line if they're going to have that capability, but ultimately these are professional athletes who are going to show up and fight for their playoff lives and fight for their ability to hang in this game. And, until we get to that spot, it's really going to be that kind of spot. This is a great spot.
That was my fault for putting the post game back.
It's still hysterical. That was still a great spot by Michael.
Yeah.
So, before we get into our score predictions and anything else for the breakdown, we touched on it when talking with Tom. The Bills injury report came out today, and we'll talk about some of the other news right after this. But the Bills injury report's looking about as good as it's looked all season. We know that Jordan Phillips has a torn labrum and is kind of gutting through it and playing one-armed. We know that Poyer and Saffold are going to have DNP, and then a limited.
Jordan Poyer, I've been saying now all year, is being held together with braces and duct tape. I think at this point, just being limped out there.
Yeah, and
it is.
The only actual real one is Isaiah McKenzie. Nobody's sure exactly if this happened in the game or at practice or when it came up, but it seems like a little bit of a hammy thing. So it's the only one that we really need to keep an eye on for any possibility of impacting the game. The other 5 guys on this list are definitely going to play. I mean,
like status for the game. Sure.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Now the reason that that's interesting is we had some other great news today. You opened the show with obviously some awesome news on Damar Hamlin. He was recently moved from the University of Cincinnati Hospital, where he received awesome care, and I'm really glad to hear the shout outs that those guys got for taking such good care of him. He was transferred to Buffalo, but he was transferred to Buffalo Hospital, where he was then continued there. This morning we got the news that he was formally released, allowed to go home. His family came up, all tests checked out. He is at home in Buffalo with his family, coming up from Pittsburgh to stay with him, obviously to help continue to take care of him and keep an eye on him. But awesome news, and something that I think has been a huge relief for all of us. Do you think we'll see what a week ago was?
Not to speculate, but do you think we'll see Damar leading a charge coming up here in the next week or two? Like, here's my thing. Like, I think there's a possibility that he's leading a charge. I wouldn't do it. I would wait a week.
Don't waste it. I don't want to.
I hate to say it, but yeah, wait a week.
I think that jerks, I know it. I know this is good. Like, this is setting up for the absolute perfect, fall.
We're putting this on the internet. Like,
yeah, no, dude, this is all receipts forever.
Yeah.
So the way Sean McDermott talked about it today, about, hey, would we see him around the facilities? Like, hey, he's just taking it easy. We don't want to push it. We don't want to rush things back. He's got to really take it easy. It made me feel like they were kind of consciously holding that back, and then selfishly, they don't need extra motivation for this week. I'd love to have that awesome charge in a divisional round game that likely would be a huge showdown with the Bengals in Buffalo, where, they need every extra little bit that they can get. So, will I be excited if he leads the charge on Sunday? Of course, that'll be awesome. That'll be a great moment. Do I strategically kind of hope that they keep it in their back pocket? Yeah, I kind of do.
I agree.
I kind of hope they do. One other piece that came up today, which was something that I had kind of aspirationally hinted at over the last couple weeks, but was still hopeful. I didn't know any inside information. I was connecting dots like anybody else. Today, Jamison Crowder and Micah Hyde returned to practice for the Buffalo Bills. Both of them opened up their 21-day practice window. So for anyone who isn't aware, the NFL gives NFL teams the option to let players who are on injured reserve start to practice without counting against the 53-man roster for up to 21 days. The Bills open that. We've seen players open that window and play that week. Days later, we've seen teams wait all 21 days. The Bills just did with Christian Benford. They literally activated him on the 21st day. They went to like the 17th or 18th day with Ike Bacher. So they can wait there. This would go from now until theoretically after the AFC Championship game, if they were to continue to advance that far. So they have all those options available. I got the impression, and some things that Micah said in his press conference, post by his wife, Amanda, that she made on Instagram, they are planning to play, and he's planning to play as soon as they're going to let him. I don't think it's out of the question that he could be activated next week and play in the division round.
So we had heard, obviously, like the rumblings on Twitter, people like you connecting the dots. Banged Up Bills had put early on talking about it on if it was going to be an aggressive timeline. He wasn't indicating necessarily predicting, just saying like, hey, if this was going to be a potential, there would be this aggressive timeline, and this is what you'd be looking at. And so it wasn't a total shock to see it happen. To me, before I saw the press conference from Micah today and that post you said, it was more that news of initially was kind of like, this is more feel good news for the locker room. Again, we're getting Micah back. He can run around with the guys. It's more of like a extended coach type of thing. This is another feel good story we're going to get. Hearing Micah talk about being like fresh and ready and mentally, when asked about, hey, are you going to be ready to like make contact and hit, and like being mentally in his mind ready and prepared for that, and kind of already passed that hurdle in his brain to go out and play, that made me think, to your point, like I think he'd go tomorrow if he could play a game. It's really on the doctors. And so we'll see how conservative the Bills doctors have been conservative. We'll see if they pull him back from himself. It still is an aggressive timeline. And he talked about that too, with this injury. And so, but he's chomping at the bit. You could see it all over that press conference. So that gave me a lot of encouragement that there's a real chance. And then with the Crowder one too, Lauren's right. She said in here, Micah really upstaged Crowder's return. Of course he did. Yeah. I mean, you're getting the all pro back, but I don't think it should be totally upstaged because we've had this conversation about how important slot production is. Crowder was not in a red jersey today. And so that, I know McDermott said neither one of them are playing this week, but that led me to think that ramp up could be even quicker than we're seeing from Hyde at this point.
And we talked about that a bit in our Cover One staff chat about the list. So now you add in the McKenzie hamstring, you add in, I don't think any of us have a real great feel on exactly which Cole Beasley we're getting back here. Is this a dangerous, threatening Cole Beasley? I know like the last time we saw him was kind of those outstretched arms, not being able to get to the ball on that third down play on the one drive we saw in the Bengals game. You know, I think that there's a spot there where Jamison Crowder could thread the needle, where if McKenzie's hammy isn't quite right and Beasley isn't the same Beasley that we've seen before, and he really has lost a step, Crowder could not only be activated, not only play, he could be a major piece of this passing offense and legitimately be, you know, neck and neck with Khalil Shakir for the third most snaps and things like that. I think this could be a spot where it really could make an impact here. Now, I don't know if it's as much of an impact as getting Micah Hyde back. Micah Hyde, when we're talking about Dean Marlowe and Cam Lewis and, you know, those kind of situations, you know, getting an all-pro safety back is a huge, huge impact.
Especially with the teams potentially going down the road against.
The best, you know, for my money, the best safety blanket in the NFL for those deep threats against teams like Cincinnati and Kansas City and whoever, if they get beyond there. So it was just an awesome day. The between the combination, and I don't mean awesome in the negative news of the Dolphins, but you know, all of a sudden now the Dolphins matchup not seeming
that increased the variance of the awesome that we experienced, right?
Correct. And then the news for Damar, and then like an hour later, the news for Micah Hyde and Jamison Crowder, and then the confirmation that it was Spencer, or what's his name?
What do you say?
Thompson.
Oh, Skylar.
I can't even remember his name.
I thought something happened to Spencer Brown for a second. I missed that one. Nope.
Spencer Thompson. Whatever. I don't know whatever his name is. It just really, it was a huge swing of emotion and confidence in what's there. I love that the team is the one who needs to stay grounded and focused and not get ahead of themselves, because Bills fans are way, way, way ahead of themselves.
Yeah, we don't have to be. It is really, it's weird feeling going into this week, Greg. I don't know about you. I was prepping, you know, taking in the victory over the Patriots and kind of looking back on the season and getting my mind right for getting ready for a playoff game. And then as we ramped into this week, I wasn't doing the type of prep that we've done over the past 2 to 3 years. I won't lie. I didn't prep for this show in the same way. And it's because I'm already kind of chalking this one up. Right. But it's weird because we are kind of playoff vets now too, a little bit. So we're coming into this maturity as a fan base of we've been here before. We've been in wild card games before. There isn't so much the threat of it, even with a Tua. I felt good going into this game. I would have felt confident.
I would still pick the Bills to win.
I would have still picked the Bills to win, handle the business they were supposed to do. But now, man, I looked up earlier some of the all-time blowouts of playoff games because I wanted to see where they were, because they say I really think this has the potential now to shape up to be one of those Bills versus Raiders, where it's just the absolute domination type game. And it feels weird to say that in the playoffs because they are all good teams, right? Even with
especially this AFC field.
Yeah.
It was expected to be historically deep.
Yeah. And it's just, I think going that deep into QB is too much to overcome. Maybe Bridgewater will spark something for him. But as far as right now, recording this podcast on paper, it's not looking good. And you're right, though, that it is a little bit of a bummer because there's been some pretty great playoff games between the Dolphins and Bills, which it just adds to that type of rivalry, right? To have a really good playoff game.
Yeah. So Novocaine's question here. We got a couple of fun things coming up. So normally we don't have a lot of content on Thursday. Tomorrow we are actually going to be doing a fun watch along with the Sabres game. So Chris Kepner, a couple other of our guys, our producer Chris, and a couple other guys are going to be doing a really cool area where you can go and watch the Sabres game along with them. You'll see some information. The watch party's tomorrow at 7:00. So make sure you're checking out for that. And then on Friday night, I think there's a chance that Aaron and I might be hanging out doing a little bit of some more fun stuff, getting ready for this game, maybe talking a little bit longer term about what could come next, what are some of the other things are later in the playoffs and what we could get out of that. So as we get into this playoff time, it's hard not to find more things to want to get on a microphone and talk about.
Yeah, and obviously we'll do the spaces on Friday. If you are on Twitter, we'll be doing our normal Friday morning spaces. And then like to Greg's point, we haven't totally finalized exactly what we're going to do here. We've got some irons on the fire, as they say of guests. It's a busy, frantic time this time of year but we will have something for people to consume content here all the way through the week. And even Eric was talking about doing another one of those live YouTube where they were chatting with Chris and Kevin Massera the other day. So everyone Cover One is itching to get you guys the content you want, trust me. And if this starts to ramp up to where we think it's going to be, it's only going to get better.
Yeah. And Lauren, with a great point here, after all the adversity we've experienced this season, an easy blowout win would be a warm welcome. So
wouldn't that be nice, man? A party in Western New York for Lauren and my birthday weekends here coming up. Happy birthday, Lauren.
Happy birthday, Lauren. Hopefully a wonderful happy birthday to you. I know it's on game day. Speaking of which, anything else we want to touch on before we get into predictions? There was we've been big on tracking, toxic differential. You've been big on DVOA. I think with all the injuries here, it's maybe not quite as impactful for this matchup.
Yeah, I didn't do notes for this matchup, and it's very unlike me. I've my show notes is many pages long, and I go through all the data, and I was doing it. I was looking through all the data in this, and it's just really even hard to pinpoint who's going to be the quarterback in this one, whether it's Bridgewater or Thompson. That data's not going to look good. It's going to look muddy. It's not going to matter. So it's a hard one to prep for outside of the fact that we're assuming what it's going to look like based on what we've seen from Skylar, and that's not great.
So an interesting one that I did see was a new stat I hadn't seen.
Oh yeah,
Ian Hartitz brought this one up, and I like it. It immediately clicked with me. So this is now the Havoc rankings, which obviously that's just great naming. Good job by Ian. That's awesome marketing. So it is calculated by tackle for loss or no gain. So any 0 yard or negative play, plus, which would also include sacks, obviously, plus forced fumbles, plus interceptions, plus pass breakups, plus pressures divided by the number of plays. So it just tells you, hey, what's your frequency of wreaking havoc? What's your frequency of causing havoc on the other team? And lo and behold, the number one team in the NFL defensively of wreaking havoc amongst many other top-ranked good defenses like Dallas and San Francisco and Philadelphia, and surprisingly, Jacksonville, I think that was my surprise out of the top 5, was the Buffalo Bills. And that this brought up a lot of good discussions about when we see the penetration by the defensive line, but they kind of wall it off and they get a run behind it. We saw that awesome run blitz by Matt Milano, but it got picked up and Damian Harris ran for 18 yards through the gap that was there. Well, we celebrate when those run blitzes get home and tackle them for a 5-yard loss, but sometimes they get picked up. So this is more of a higher variance approach on defense. And people don't think of our defense as aggressive high variance because it's not crazy blitzing, but that doesn't mean that we're not going for those kind of plays.
Yeah.
And that we know every gained possession benefits us because a gained possession is more likely for us to score than for the other team because we can stop those. So this really registered with me that this is the kind of defense I want to have opposite of a Josh Allen offense.
Yeah, I do think that the style with how this defense plays is often seen as, to your point, like it's seen as soft and prevent and that bend but don't break. And it is that, but it was also that with fundamentals and tackling gets talked about a lot. But we talk about this in the Cover One DM group quite a bit of I wish that's tackling stats had a different category for like disruptive missed tackles versus straight up miss in open space where it leads to a big gain, because I can live with a missed tackle that causes a run stuff because the guy made the running back stumble, already got into the hole and just was disruptive and slowed down the play. Like those things are different. And so you see time and time again, whenever you look into stats about this defense, they come up at the top. What's surprising about that, them being up there with Philly, is Philly. I tweeted out early, I don't think this is getting enough talk, that they had 70 sacks as a team this year. That's third all time in NFL history. That's with like the greatest Bears team, like 85 the Bears Ravens like teams. That. Like that's unbelievable. And for the Bills overall defense, and this is also the Eagles defensive backs have also been playing fantastic. Bradbury's having a phenomenal year in terms of breakups. The Bills are still ahead of them in terms of some of these aggressive type plays. It just shows you positionally, coaches, Leslie Frazier, they're all on the same page. They're playing aggressive. They're playing through plays. And it's really fun to see.
Yeah. And for anyone ask, Ian actually worked for PFF, and PFF hates the Bills. So they certainly aren't cherry picking nice things for the Bills. They don't like to say nice things about the Bills.
Yeah. And I do think, we nitpick at this team all the time because we've seen them play perfectly. And there's been times where the defense has struggled, but I still, to this day, Greg, Leslie Frazier does not get the credit for the body of work and what he's done here for this team over the last 5-6 years. Absolutely fantastic. It's hard to maintain a top defense. And it just seems they seem to be getting better all the time.
Yeah. So you're saying that, a top 2 defense in DVOA who gave up the second fewest points in the NFL isn't soft and exposed? Is that what you're saying?
It's like the best run defense. Yeah, no, it's so weird to me. And yes, they will run into matchups where teams expose them, but man, it just time and time again, stat again, it just comes up. They're good.
Yeah.
Really
and
good.
Exposed while they're still winning.
Yeah.
Like, teams that get exposed are when you get boat raced and lose.
Yeah.
Like the games we lost were because of stupid, fluky things. We couldn't complete a snap in the end zone because the defense had just made an awesome goal line stand to win the game for them, not being soft. It just annoys me when people's expectations make them say stupid things.
Yeah, and the weird thing too is I think people think of this defense as this just kind of like vanilla basic, and it has been the same scheme year over year. So it is a little bit tired, but it is still, I think, in the NFL more revolutionary than people like. It is more in the right trend than people give it credit for.
Yeah. It's where the terms like disguise coverage came from, because they're the ones who helped really weaponize confusing quarterbacks with disguised coverages. It's what they do, where they look like one thing pre-snap and they see something else post-snap, and that's not sexy. That's not 70 sacks. It's easy to see a sack. That's why fans love sacks.
Blitz
are easy to see.
Not big time blitzing.
It's easy to see a blitz. It's easy to see a sack. It's easy to see those things. It's not easy to see when the quarterback had to throw it away on third down because you confused him and because Tremaine Edmonds took away the open receiver in the middle of the field. Well, guess what? Throwing it away on third down and geting a sack are both turnovers. We both won the exact same.
Puts the ball in Josh Allen's hands.
We get the ball back the exact same. There's no difference, so it's just one of those things where it's not as easy to see. And I'd love to have both. I'd love to also have 70
It's just so
sacks.
weird
That's
to me.
Awesome. I would love to have that.
You get this, I don't think it's a big deal, but you get Ken Dorsey getting an interview from Carolina, and people are like, well, he deserves it. He's got a top offense. And it's like, well, geez, Leslie Frazier's been doing this for years. Like, you can't just say that. It's just, I hate the way people talk about offensive coordinators. I hate the whole conversation around Leslie Frazier, whether it's ageism, racism, that he's a defensive coach. Like, the guy just is a good coach. And to Lauren's comment earlier, keep Leslie Frazier a secret. I got to stop pounding the table for this guy because somebody's going to listen to me at some point and try to take him.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine him here. So I think it's about that time. So before we go into our predictions and what we're going to see, I'm going to pause for a moment here. I'm going to ask everyone to go press that like button, go out, press like. It's how the algorithm works.
Like almost 300 of you guys. I don't see a lot of likes.
Come and hit the like button. Please help us out. Press that like button. It makes a huge difference. We're doing our best for you. And while you're here, people ask all the time, what Aaron wants for his birthday. And what Aaron wants for his birthday is for
no, you're the only one that's said anything about that. But go ahead.
but yeah, well, what I would like you to give Aaron for his birthday is to sign up as a One Pass member. You get this awesome T-shirt, you get a decal, you get members only access to all kinds of cool stuff that we put on YouTube that's only for our subscribers, and you get access to our Slack channel, which is awesome. It is literally a contest to see who can share information the fastest in there. You can just be in Slack, so if you're not loving the new setup on Twitter, which confused me for a little bit today, where they move crap around, I don't like it, or you don't love being on Facebook, or you don't love some of the other social media, the Slack channel is just a group of like-minded, intelligent Bills fans. It's awesome. On game day, it's fantastic, and you get every single bit of news the second that it drops, because there's like a competition to come share it every time something comes up. So it's a great little group to be able to be in there and go along with it. I know you have a lot of fun with it too, Aaron.
Yeah, I love the Slack channel. It's so busy. I'm like a split second behind on game day because I'm on YouTube TV that I can't be in there during the game, even though I love to be in there during the game, because they're just going. And then it'll blow something for me from the game. But I do try to check in and at the quarters and at halves just to see how it's doing, because it is such a great community. And you're right, like a lot of the information that we get for preview shows throughout the year are just messages and conversations that come from the Slack channel. And you're right, the news that I get, because I get the notifications to my phone, often beat Twitter. It's pulling me over to Twitter to go check on it. So
yeah, it's incredible.
It's a really cool community that we've built where, to your point, I talk to people all the time that aren't on Twitter, don't really have all these things, but they do actually have Slack for work and stuff. So they already have it where it's at. Yeah.
Zach heard the Hyde and Crowder news in Slack today. And I will say, we are not a news breaking organization. No. That's not what we do. We're analysts. We react to things, but that doesn't mean we don't have relationships. And a lot of times I know Eric, whenever he does share things, it's never on Twitter. It's always in the Slack channel. Anytime we have inside information on things, it's always in the Slack channel. So appreciate that, and appreciate everyone speaking about the value that they think that they get from it. That means a lot to us.
Yeah, it really does.
All right. So without further ado, it is your birthday. I'll let you lead off.
Sure.
What is your prediction for this weekend?
So similar to Tom, like, look, man, there's a part of me that wanted to come on here tonight and just be like, it's going to be like 53-3. Like it could just get ugly like that. But I'm going to, for the sake of like respect for the game of football. This even sounds crazy to say, Greg. I got it 34-10. I can see Miami coming up with a game plan where they can scrap together like a 20-point game on the ground, getting a turnover or two, getting some good field position where they can put up 20. But man, I have a hard time seeing them get over that. I really do. The way this defense plays, we talked about it. Even without a Micah Hyde, I thought Marlowe filled in pretty well. Obviously, the speed's different, but if you don't have the arm to get the speed to be a problem, that really neuters that and makes that a little bit toothless. So I don't lose sleep over it at night. It does allow you to come up and do a little bit more against the run. This would even be a game, Greg, where, you know me, man, I never want to see Taron Johnson off the field in run support, but I would be fine with a handful of reps where they're running base just to make sure you don't have a type of day that Mostert had against them in that first or in that second matchup. So you want to eliminate anything like that where they can really dominate you on the ground and eat up time of possession and somehow keep this game close. But even if things work out their way, dude, I think the freight train has started to get worked up. All the things, just as we talked about all year, Greg, this team has been trending in the right direction. A lot of the data has been trending in the right direction on things that they were flawed on. The injury report is heading in the right direction. We talk about it year in and year out. This is where you want to be heading into the playoffs. And now the other team is actually heading in the opposite direction for you, laying out a pretty clear red carpet path. I think the Bills know they are heading into a battle with prey that's wounded, and they're going to go take care of that. They know that this is a huge opportunity in the playoffs to get a freebie, and I think that they handle business. So 34-10, I think, is a conservative one to go into this game with. It sounds crazy.
It is weird. It's hard to keep it within a reasonable frame, and I don't think that a 49-10 is completely out of the question. Like, I don't think that that's absolutely impossible. I think it's more on the low end that I just don't know how much we're going to see a Skylar Thompson-led offense put much together. And especially now, it sounded like Mostert had surgery on his
Yeah,
thumb,
no,
which
when
makes
I
me
said like Mostert, I was saying similar type
Wilson,
game where
and
like a guy that can go off on you
yeah,
for a big game.
and Jeff Wilson is an
Yeah.
explosive fast back.
Mhm.
Like, he is not he is a starting caliber running back.
Yeah.
He is a starting caliber running back, and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle can take a 5-yard slant to the house, and
Yes.
Skylar Thompson can throw a 5-yard slant. So, like,
Yes.
that's not
Yeah,
crazy.
we're
Those
not
things
dealing
can
with a guy
still
that can't throw. This isn't Nate Peterman, almost.
yeah.
I mean, it's not Nate Peterman, right? Like this is a guy that he can get the ball to these guys if they get creative for him.
Correct. Just short, quick stuff, and then like taking a screen to the house, something like that. Which is why I don't think it's going to be a shutout. I don't, and I'm right there along with you. I do think that the injuries of the people that are out, it's going to be tough for them to sustain a whole lot. So I've got them at 13. I think that maybe they get a score and 2 field goals, something like that. I think the Bills, I got like 4 touchdowns, 3 field goals, so 37. I got 37-13. I think it's going to be that ballpark. I do think it's possible it could get ugly.
Get
And
like
like
seeing Case Keenum ugly.
yeah, like call off the dogs,
Yeah.
Case Keenum ugly, where we're just kind of handing it off on 3rd and 14 in the fourth quarter just to get the game over, kind of ugly. So we'll see where that goes, but I don't expect it to be a super competitive game, and I'll honestly be disappointed if it is, and
That's worst case scenario.
yeah.
If you have to like play hard into the fourth quarter and give it everything you got against this team, like you can't afford that in the playoffs with what you project to be ahead.
Correct. And now the good news is that's still okay. This is just survive in advance mode.
Sure.
So even an ugly game, now if it's an ugly, healthy game, they can't afford to now get players injured or have anything negative come up that way. But ultimately, all that matters is getting a W.
The win.
All
Yeah.
that matters is there. Zach was even joking here. If they put Tyreek Hill on the Wildcat and he finds a way to run for 2 touchdowns for something wacky, well, God bless him. That's they're pulling out all the stops. This is a kitchen sink game that they're going to throw everything they have at the Bills to figure something out.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to do that like 4 or 5 times to win the game.
Correct. So, if something crazy happens and Christian Wilkins or Jalen Phillips or Javon Holland or one of their defensive playmakers makes a play, and Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill break a play, don't lose your mind. It's okay. They have talented players. They have the kind of guys who deserve, to be able to make a play here or there. It doesn't mean it's going to be an absolute like 3-and-out touchdown, 3-and-out touchdown, 3-and-out touchdown. Like that, it doesn't mean it's going to be like that every single drive. They're going to put a drive together. They're going to stop us once or twice. Like those things are going to happen. Ultimately, the Bills are going to win this game. They are the more talented team. They're going to find a way to do that. I hope that it's a carefree, easy breezy game that we don't have to worry about anything. But even if it doesn't, even if it takes some fits and starts to get going, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think we'll have a nice little party here. Maybe I'll bring some cake onto the show.
Yeah, birthday cake. Yeah. I like it. So I saw Dan had a birthday in the chat there. Lauren, there's just all kinds of birthdays all over.
A lot of January's Capricorns unite.
Yeah, that's right. It sounds like maybe Tom will be welcoming somebody maybe on game
I would
day.
love it.
Yeah,
The more Capricorns, the better.
Anything else that we have fun and exciting going on here?
No, man. I mean, obviously tune into everything we're doing here at Cover One. If you're over here on YouTube right now, hit that like, subscribe, make sure that you're following everything that we're doing. The whole team of guys here. It's great content all week. I don't know about you guys, but for me, my content is not I don't watch a lot of the ESPN Get Up, all those things to get ready. I really don't. I throw on YouTube clips and let it play all day, and it's a lot of our own shows and there's tons of great Bills content, other teams content and stuff like that. So make sure you're liked and subscribed there. But other than that, man, no, I'm just happy to be in the playoffs. I'm happy to have a team that's at the head seat in the playoffs that is one of the top contenders. I was looking at some of the different odds, whether it was DVOA's odds or 535 or whatever, 538 site, and just seeing who they think is going to win. And obviously I think a lot of people still favor KC to come out of the AFC right now because they're the 1 seed, but just even being in that conversation of 30% to win the playoffs out of the pool that's remaining it's a really cool world to exist in. And I hope that it's not in the pursuit of that perfection, in the pursuit of the Super Bowl, and the pursuit of the prize. I hope that we don't lose the taste of the moment and being in the moment while we're here, because it's already going by pretty fast, Greg. Like the last 4 years have flown by, right? And this could be gone before we know it. And so I do want everyone to enjoy these moments. The playoffs can go quick. I think we're in for a special ride on this one, but you never know. So enjoy each moment and enjoy these games and enjoy being here, because not everybody's. My brother talking a lot about first pick and trades, and off season's fully ramped up for a lot of people, but not us. We got a ways to go, hopefully.
Yeah, the Patriots don't even get to watch play the playoffs, so it's fun things like that. But very well said. I couldn't agree more. Enjoy every moment of this. Come and enjoy some of the other things we have going on. So with that watch party tomorrow night with the Sabres, come hang out with some of our guys there. Come back for our spaces on Friday morning, and maybe a fun show on Friday night. We have lots more things going for you. But on behalf of our producer Chris Kepner and Aaron Quinn, my name is Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.